We're going to talk about Marvel Secret Invasion Episode 4 called Beloved, which I think is
really good episode.
I had a lot of fun. At the end of it, I was like, wait, how long? Oh, that was only 30 minutes. I thought maybe it was longer, and the pace was just like real.
Yeah.
It is just a 30-minute episode, but
it's intense.
Yeah, it is pretty intense. So this just came out yesterday. So if you've not seen it, or I don't know, whenever you watch this, look, if you haven't seen it, you don't want it spoiled, fuck off.
That's
and then
fine.
Come back.
Just go away.
Right. We love you, but fuck off. Because we're going to spoil it, and I don't want to be the guy to do that, you know. So, spoilers again. Guy is alive.
Holy shit.
Which I found to be kind of cheap.
Oh, yeah.
but it's okay. So it turns out she super Skrulled herself, right? She took memories from the scientist who was building the machine, grabbed a test tube, turned on the sciencey YNC machine, and now she's
She gave herself the regeneration powers.
So she revives in the woods where Gravik shot her. It glows a little bit, and she's like, that motherfucker shot me. That was a little extremist. Get it? I wrote that joke myself. So flashback to 2012. This is in the direct aftermath of Avengers in New York. Nick Fury walks into a swanky restaurant and meets his lady, right? And she's like, you put the Avengers together, didn't you? And he's like, how the fuck did you know that? She's like, I mean, it was on the news.
It has your fucking fingerprints all over it.
It was literally on the news. But even if it wasn't, like, I'd have known anyway, because you're Nick M. Fury.
This is what you do.
And the M stands for Nick motherfucking Fury. And Nick Fury's like, I love you so much. Let's go fuck. You are so attractive to me right now. And she's like, first I want to talk about poetry. And
he's like, all right, this is some weird foreplay, but I can get down.
I want to talk about scrolling you so hard you scream. And she's like, poetry first. And he's like, okay.
All right.
The thing a man will do. So they read a poem by Raymond Carver together. And it's actually a really sweet moment. All the crude jokes aside. And the poem is a dialogue between two people. And it goes a little like this. And I already messed it up. I don't read poetry, by the way, and I certainly don't read it out loud. I should probably read more poetry. It doesn't matter. You know, I'm not going to read it. Go watch the fucking episode. So it's a really nice moment.
It's really sweet and it's really cute.
So the fact that they picked a poem that was a dialogue between two people, she gives them the book and they read the the thing, and so they finish the poem and Fury's like, so we can have fuck now, and she's like, only if you take the eye patch off. And he's like, that's a little weird, but I'm intrigued. So fine. Present day, Priscilla is attending the world's worst attended choir concert. There were like 4 people at this choir, which, to be fair, is generally what you can expect from a choir concert. So we remember last episode, she got a call from Rhodey that kind of suggested he reported to Gravik, which everyone's like, Rhodey's a Skrull. Yeah. It was a little obvious at that point. Rhodey shows up and he's like, okay, so you're going to kill Fury, or I or someone else, probably not me, is going to kill you. And Priscilla's like, look, the old terrifying check all the shadows because Nick Fury might be hiding, like waiting to strangle you. Fury died when he got snapped. Like he's not his former self. We don't need to kill him. He'll probably just die of old age like a fucking dog. Right. And,
Don Cheadle's like, did I fucking stutter?
Yeah, no. Yeah, we need to kill him. And it turns out that Nick Fury is listening to the conversation. He bugs her somehow, probably her phone. I can't remember. And he doesn't seem super surprised by this. He does seem a little upset about it, but his general reaction isn't like, what?
It's like, yeah, okay. That's what I expect it was going to happen.
Right, because he knows who she is. I mean, before they were together, she was like a legit spy. Yeah. Right, yeah. So he's like, and my honey's doing her job. So Rhodey leaves. You can see Priscilla's like, the sex is so good though. So back at the Fury homestead, Priscilla comes home and she notices that Fury's wedding ring is in the little bowl, right? And he's in the kitchen making tea, and the conversation starts off pretty innocently. He's like, you want some tea? And she's like, I would love some tea. Why is your wedding ring in there? And he's like, because you're trying to kill me, bitch. What's going on? And like, it like escalates that quickly. Yeah. Right. And they both, at one point, they both pull out their pistols and put them on the
table. Yeah. And then they read the poem back and forth.
Yeah. And they're both visibly titillated. This must be the world's weirdest relationship. Right. So Priscilla exposits pretty much the story of how she came to assume her identity. And there's this person who was dying of a heart defect or whatever, and she's like, okay, you can have my face, but you have to promise me three things. First, I want to be buried at sea, not because I'm a sailor. The ocean seems nice.
Okay, done, easy.
Keep up appearances with my family so they don't have to mourn my death. And
sure,
and she's like,
sense.
okay, that's a little weird, but whatever. Also, last thing, never try to shoot Nick Fury, even if Don Cheadle tells you to. And she's like, that seems oddly specific.
Awfully specific, but okay.
Sure. Yeah, I have no problem.
Seems reasonable.
So
flash forward to now.
Yeah, Don
Cheadle told me to shoot Nick
right,
Fury.
Yeah. So this all culminates to them both drawing each other. They grab their guns to draw each other.
They read the poem back and forth. As soon as they hit the last line, they both pull their guns.
Yep. They fire. The camera cuts away. There for a second I was like, oh, because I never thought that Nick Fury was going to die in this moment. I really think he just fucking capped her, because that's kind of something he would do, right?
Yeah.
So the camera cuts back and they both purposefully missed, right? Yeah. And Nick's like, girl, I'm going to fuck you right here on this table. And she's like, yeah, you are. And so Fury...
I have to interrupt. This is so fucking sweet. Yeah. Because it implies that both of them were like, there's a very real chance the person across the table is going to shoot me and I'm going to die right now. But I don't want to kill them. It's
the only person I think in the world Nick Fury doesn't just shoot straight in the head.
Yeah.
Just to be safe. And maybe it was one of those things where if that really was who she was, he didn't care enough to live anyway.
Either that or they both trusted that the other person wasn't going to shoot them.
So Fury warns, he's like, Gravik's going to be after you now. She's like, I don't give a fuck. Gravik's a little bitch. I can take care of myself. And she asks him this really interesting question. She says, would you fall in love with a version of me that would have killed you? And Fury's like, I don't fucking know. I got to go. And leaves, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't know. The way this is acted is, the expositional storytelling is a little clumsy, but the scene still reads very sweet. I wish that they would have had more time to develop their characters, because I think that there's a lot of really good stuff there they could have gotten into. And we kind of got the abbreviated version. Yeah. So elsewhere, Talos and Gaia are reenacting the spy meeting on a park bench trope from literally every spy thriller ever. And Gaia's like, okay, look, my cover is blown, so it's time for you to tell me what the plan is. And Talos is like, okay, here's my master plan, and try very hard not to be amazed at the brilliance of all of it. Mm-hmm. We're going to stop the Skrull insurgency. We're going to tattle to the President of the United States. We're going to sit back and watch the world marvel at this brilliant plan that I, myself with no help, devised by myself. And she's like, that is the dumbest fucking thing in the world. What about Carol Danvers? And what about the plan to get our own homeworld? And Talos is like, I don't even know where the fuck Carol is.
She's not answering her phone.
She never answers her phone. No one knows. So she's probably out there,
doing space police stuff,
headbutting spaceships or something. Yeah. So we'll show the American people that we can be good, and then we'll become immigrants, and Americans love immigrants. Yeah. And she's like, they historically do not. And he's okay, not yet.
They historically like the right kinds of immigrants. But modern day America, I don't think would take too well to a bunch of green skinned aliens immigrating. Yes.
And guys, I'm very wary of this plan. And
guys, this is the worst fucking plan I've ever heard.
I'm very.
You make Gravik's plan seem plausible.
He's fucking crazy. I'm very wary of this plan. And Talos is like, hi, I'm very wary of this plan. I'm Dad. And she just leaves in disgust. So meanwhile, a Skrull is taking a nice steamy shower, gets out, looks in the mirror, wipes off the thing, and all of a sudden it's Rhodey. I'm pretty sure the Skrull's a female.
I think so too, yeah.
And is not impressed with Don Cheadle's body. Looks in the mirror, is like, oh God. Which, to be fair, I get it. I'm kidding. Actually, Don Cheadle's a very handsome man. So she gets dressed. He gets dressed. They get. This is a great fucking. This is a great fucking instance where the pronoun they is very aptly used.
I also think because they're part of Gravik's whole shtick, the disgust in the mirror is more like, another day I don't get to be green.
Yeah.
Or I have to be a human.
Yeah. Ultimately that is because their whole thing is they want to be in their own skin. Right. However, it kind of looks like this man's dick is so small. I'm so tired of this. That's the look she gives herself in the mirror. So he goes out into the living room, and Nick Fury is just lounging at a table drinking this like real expensive bourbon. And Rhodey's like, how the fuck did you get in here? And he's like, I'm Nick M. Fury. And the M stands for, and Rhodey's like, yeah, I get it from motherfucking Fury. And he's like, I've got this really expensive alcohol. It's called Pappy
Van Winkle.
Yeah, which is a real bourbon, by the way. I looked it up, cost $5,000. That's insane. I don't care how many times it was distilled or pissed in by, I don't know.
Yeah.
Nothing that you drink is worth $5,000 a bottle. Nothing. Right? Anyway. By the way, the bourbon has some really important historical ties to Black culture, which I think is why they chose it. And every conversation between Fury and Rhodey are really good character studies in talking, commiserating over your situation as a Black man, which is something we can't understand. But they do a really good job of kind of letting us in on it, right? Which now that we know Rhodey's a Skrull, feels real gross.
And now that Fury knows that Rhodey's a Skrull.
Which, by the way, this whole thing. So, like, he's like, I have the super expensive alcohol. You should drink it. And Rhodey's like, is it poisoned? He's like, it is not. He's like, does it contain a liquid tracking device? And he's like, it does not.
No comment.
It does not. And he's like, that sounds great. And he fucking drinks it. So this is a great conversation, right? Nick Fury knows that he's a Skrull. But does Don Cheadle know that he knows? And if he does Nick Fury know that he knows that he knows?
Ad infinitum.
Yeah. Also, I have in my notes, Pappy Van Winkle is a great fucking name for a bourbon. It really is. So they joust a little bit.
Fury's like, I have definitive information that there is a Skrull inside the U.S. government as close to the president as you and I are right now.
Right. And basically, Rhodey's like, okay, here's the deal. Here's footage of you shooting Maria Hill. And he's like, an alien did that. And Rhodey's like, that will not stand up in court. That sounds fucking crazy. But I can protect you. Like, we can figure all this out. And
I can protect you by hiding this and the 57 other copies of it that I made as
that are
insurance.
imminently going to, yeah. So Fury's like, okay, let's table this. I'm going to go now. You carry on with the rest of your day. Keep all of your appointments or whatever plans you have. Make sure you go everywhere you're supposed to go. It's not like Talos and I are going to be following you. Goodbye.
Don Cheadle's like, I'm also going to keep this incredibly expensive bottle of bourbon you brought me and probably drink most of it.
And he's like, I stole it anyway. So Nick gets into a car with Talos. And
Talos is like, do you think he knew that the bourbon you gave him had the liquid tracking device in it?
He's like, he asked me and I accidentally gave the wrong answer and he still fucking drank it.
It's just really good bourbon.
So there's liquid tracking in the bourbon and they're following him, right? So Rhodey meets the president at like an airfield. They're in Europe.
Yep.
And they're going to go to like some peace talk or something.
Yeah.
And he gets off Air Force One and the motorcade's waiting and shit. And he's like, okay, we're going to drive over to this thing and nothing will happen on the way. And
he's telling the president, like, you got to be steel and not flesh. And the president's like, have you been drinking today?
Yeah. He's like, it was Perry Van Winkle. And he's like, oh, okay.
Okay, understandable.
Yeah. So Nick and Talos are behind them,
following the motorcade in their one car.
And then there's an ambush on the motorcade. Now, let me tell you, this might come, I've mentioned this a couple of times on various Battlefront streams. And I'm not going to tell you who it is, not that it matters, but I have a family member that is a retired Secret Service agent. This entire thing is impossible.
Yeah. That's the first thing I thought, seeing this. Like, the Secret Service would never let this happen.
No. First of all, they would not be following the motorcade. They would have been sniped by some marksman that you never knew was
never
there.
even saw them. Second of all, there would never be helicopters that close to the motorcade.
No.
Like unidentified helicopters that weren't Secret Service.
So first of all, the motorcade was way too small. Like, it was missing its ambulance, for example.
Yeah, it was like 6 cars.
Right. The one anti-air thing popping out was actually kind of cool. And it's like, so like my connection to this, I don't know anything I shouldn't know, right? Yeah. Because the people who do that job aren't the people who just kind of lord information like that just to be kind of...
No, they take their jobs very fucking seriously.
And so like the family member I have that was in the Secret Service never told me anything I wasn't supposed to know. However, love to talk about stuff that it was okay that everyone knew, right? For example, like 3 of the vehicles in that motorcade are for the president's counter assault team. So their first directive, if something like this happens, the first directive is to move the president, not to fight, to move the president out of the area.
Yes.
With the exception of the counter assault team, whose job is to run toward gunfire and kill everyone, right? And then like his immediate agents, get him away, right?
Yeah.
The beast, which is they have 3 the beasts, which are like modified Cadillacs, pretty much, can just like in the show survive a direct missile blast without breaking any glass. And in fact, it could survive probably a lot more than that. In fact, I'm not entirely sure it would have flipped over on its top because that motherfucker is real heavy.
Yeah.
So like all this stuff, like
it's dramatically convenient,
yes,
but it is.
Right. But the whole time I was watching it, I was like this whole road that they're driving on wouldn't have been deserted. Like that, there would be police personnel every fucking where. They would have their own helicopters in the air. Wherever the president goes is a moving no-fly zone, right? So there is nothing that gets in there. Also, when the president's on foreign soil, like the size of his detail like quadruples, right? So anyway, there is an attack on the presidential motorcade, and they
once you fucking know it, it's Gravik and his Skrulls, and they're all speaking Russian.
He's got this like he does the Groot thing, which I think now means legally he can only say I am Gravik now because of his Super Skrull power.
Basically, yeah.
But there's like a shot of him like doing the the trick thing. Yeah, and so Talos and Nick Fury were like, okay, well, we can just walk up on this situation and start helping the good guys, and they will just let us help them and not just shoot us, right? Which is what would actually happen in real life. So there's a gunfight,
yes,
right? And so you got the president's men, and then you've got the Skrulls, and they're fighting and shit.
And there's some Brits helping the president,
right? The helicopters are getting shot out of the sky. Nick Fury pulls a missile launcher out of the back of his car, and he's like, "I think I'm gonna get this one myself."
Fuck this helicopter in particular.
Yeah, and basically, so the president's stuck in his vehicle, unconscious.
He's knocked unconscious. The car's upside down, and everyone's fighting, and no one's checking to see if he's okay, which is the first thing they would do. And they're like, okay, Talos, this car is a heavily modified, heavily armored Cadillac with probably nuclear warhead proof glass. Can you punch it and break it? Plus, it's the MCU, so that glass is even stronger than it would be in our universe.
Yeah, it's probably like transparent vibranium.
It's probably like fucking Captain Marvel proof.
Yeah. And so Talos is like, I'm going to punch it and see what
I'm going to punch it as hard as I can.
And it works, right?
Cracks it, yeah.
But Talos takes a shot to the shoulder, and was probably my favorite effect in this show so far. He just starts phasing out of his disguise, and like half of his face. I think this is a practical. I think it's like a prosthetic thing. I don't know, but like half of his face, like he's got his big fucking Spock ear and shit. Yep. And this hilarious moment where he's like trying to hold it together, but like half of his face is a Skrull face. Like one of the soldiers is like shooting, looks over at him, and is like, the fuck? That's an alien.
Fury's like, motherfucker, you do not shoot him. He's with me.
Right.
Go shoot the
because he's like, oh, he's trying to get the president. And Fury's like, I'm going to put my foot in your ass. But like, this is look on his face like,
that's an alien.
I guess there would be aliens. Like, why would this,
I guess.
So they get the president out of the car, and like you can tell that Fury is really worried about Talos, but he's not mortally wounded.
He's like, okay, Talos, you just stay here. I'm going to grab the president, drag him back to our car. I'll be back for you.
I think it's really funny that like one of the Secret Service agents like, oh, get him in the car. And Fury's like, I brought my own car. I'll drive. Thank you. And he gets the president to safety. And there's this weird moment where like one of the soldiers is like helping Talos, but all of a sudden he starts acting real sus and everything.
Fury pulls the gun, says, put him down.
Yeah. And the dude stabs Talos like in the heart, and it's Gravik, right? And Fury's like,
you motherfucker.
That I'm mad now. The problem he's facing though is that he has to get the president out to save him. And the president's just like drooling on himself, unconscious in the car, right? He gets into the car, closes the door, and there's this really beautiful moment. And this means more because of how affectionate they made Fury and Talos with each other, where he looks at the president and you can tell that he's weighing whether or not it was worth his best friend, right? And then he's like, I gotta go. Like this is, it's like pretty much the culmination of what it's like to be Nick Fury. He lost something and he has to do the job, so he has to keep going. And it's this, like all these people talking about how Nick Fury is, busted and out of practice and doesn't have the stones or whatever, when he did the cold-blooded thing and left his friend to die and to save everybody, right? And so they drive off and it's the end of the episode.
So we talked last week about,
the effects were good, by the way. Yeah,
they were quite good. So we talked last week about after how Gaia got shot, like as soon as Talos finds out about this, he's going on the warpath. Same thing except reversed. As soon as Gaia finds out about this, like she has super Skrull powers. She's going to fucking murder Gravik.
I think first of all, I thought there's lots of poetry, both literal and figurative in this episode, right? They read poetry to each other. Fury's relationship with Priscilla is very poetic in general. And I thought it was also really poetic that this episode started with Gaia waking up from being killed by Gravik and ended with Talos being killed by Gravik.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Yeah. And I wonder, do you think he's actually dead?
I think so.
I think he might be too, which is sad because I love Ben Mendelsohn. Yeah, he's such a good actor.
Phenomenal. Yeah. But like he doesn't have super Skrull powers. He got stabbed. He fully reverted. Like I think he's gone.
And it wasn't one of those, like he stabbed the dude straight in the heart. And it's not like it was a guy who would know where a Skrull has their heart. He was another fucking Skrull. So it just this show only has like 3 episodes left.
I thought it only had 2.
Or it might only have 2. The point is that they didn't spend enough time on. This really is kind of an MCU gem when you compare it against some of the other Disney Plus stuff that we've had. Not that it all has been terrible, but a lot of it's been like I've really enjoyed WandaVision, and I really enjoyed this.
This is, in my mind, it compares really well with Andor, not just because like the style of it being the spy thriller thing, but also just the quality of it.
Yeah, it's like
it gets less philosophical than Andor, about like the nature of tyranny and how to fight against it and all that.
Yeah.
But like
it's also a different subject matter too entirely. Yeah.
But it's just really fucking good.
It's a different genre. And the thing I like about it, they really lean into the spy thriller part of it, where like there are some tropes that that they put in knowing that they're kind of cliche, but it's kind of what makes it feel authentic.
Like fucking Gaia and Talos sitting on the bench in the middle of like an empty field. Yeah. Like there's no one around them they're having to fool.
Where are they? Who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
And it's like literally anyone looking at 2 people on a bench like is going to think, oh, they're spies.
Yeah.
We don't know for what country, but those guys are spies.
Like
right?
They didn't come together. They're obviously spies.
Right. So I know the whole thing has been kind of a delight so far, and I'm really upset that there's only two episodes left of it. And they needed to have spent more time on it, but I'm excited to see what happens. I'll be really sad when